What's good, YouTube? It's your boy 6 on the 6 Gaming channel, and I am back with a new guide for y'all. And this is a SoulCalibur 6 how to play guide, and I'm basically gonna go over the basics of the game, some of the game mechanics, so on and so forth, to help you get started with learning SoulCalibur 6. If you're a new player, and even if you're an old vet who's haven't played SoulCalibur in a while and you're now returning to SoulCalibur 6, this guide is going to help you out as well. And I'm sick, and people know me as the Dragon Ball Fighters guy, but hopefully I become that SoulCalibur guy as well. But anyways, let's get started with this guide. So getting started, SoulCalibur is a 3D game, so of course movement, like in all 3D games, is very important. So let's go over some of the movement in this game. So when you hold forward, he runs, and when you hold back, he walks back. And as you can see, the big distance in between you and your opponent in the SoulCalibur stages, because the stages are so big in SoulCalibur. So yeah, you could backdash, and he does like a little backdash. You can also sidestep by just pressing back or down. And in this game, there's an 8-ray run system, kind of like how Dead Alive have it. So you could move into the foreground or into the background any way you want. You could hold down and you just sidewalk all the way around, or hold up and you sidewalk all the way around. You can even press up back and he's going to end up sidewalking back into the background, as you can see at an angle. The same thing if you press forward, down forward, or down back, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's also some jump options as well. So there are some jumping attacks, and you could neutral jump, which is basically pressing up and the guard button. So let's go over the button layout for SoulCalibur. SoulCalibur is a 4-button layout, and you have your horizontal attacks, you have your vertical attacks, you have your kick attacks, and you can press guard, right? And we're gonna learn the correct terms for these attacks, so on and so forth. So when it comes to horizontal attacks, these are known as A attacks in SoulCalibur. And as you can see on the screen, is A attacks, and these attacks are normally, a lot of these attacks are highs. There are some mids to your horizontal attacks, and there are some lows as well. But a lot of these moves will be high attacks, and these moves are normally your quicker moves. The only thing about horizontal attacks is that you can't step horizontal attacks. As you try to see, I had the dummy set up to sidestep during my string, and you cannot step horizontal attacks. Horizontal attacks will hit, but there are some exceptions, but 9 times out of 10 horizontal attacks will hit side steppers. So there are a lot of horizontal attacks in this game that are highs, and these could be easily avoided by ducking, and you duck by just pressing down and the guard button, or you can even high crush, and high crushing moves would just strictly avoid any type of high move, period. But you gotta be careful, because there are some horizontal attacks that are mid, even though they're on the slower side. But there are some horizontal attacks that are mids, and there are even horizontal attacks or A attacks that are lows. So just be careful about this. So with the horizontal attacks or A attacks as lows, you have to crouch on block these, of course. And there's some attacks that are like special lows, and these special low moves is kind of like down jabs and Tekken, where you could stand guard these moves, or you could crouch guard these moves. There are some exceptions to the rules when it comes to A attacks hitting side steppers. As you can see, that hit right there, but sometimes on some B attacks can be sidestepped to a certain side and not to the other. But you could correct that by just delaying your hit and catching them off guard anyways with the A attack. So keep that in mind. So moving on, we're going to be talking about vertical attacks, or B attacks, which is called in SoulCalibur. So B attacks is normally a little bit slower than horizontal attacks, and they normally tend to do more damage. As you can see, the A attack, the standard A attack did 10 damage, while the standard B attack did 14 damage. So vertical attacks is normally stronger than A attacks. Also, some vertical attacks do launch, and this is normally where your launches come in from, through the vertical attacks. So even though B attacks are stronger damage wise than A attacks and normally get you a better reward when hit, the one thing about it is that they can easily be sidestepped. B attacks are very, very linear, so sidestepping these attacks are very, very strong. So yeah. Now let's move on to kick attacks. And kick attacks, or the non-weapon attack, because not everybody has a kick. Some characters have non-weapons attacks, like a punch and so on and so forth with this button. This button is basically the K button, and when you use the K button in certain directions, you have the best of both worlds. Some kick attacks are horizontal, some kick attacks are vertical, some kick attacks can low crush, some kick attacks can high crush, some kick attacks are lows. It all depends on the direction of the button you're pressing when you're using your kick attack. You have some quick ones, you have some slow ones, so on and so forth. So just keep this in mind. You have the best of both worlds when using the kick button. And now we moving on to the fourth button, and the fourth button is the guard. Now the guard is basically how you defend in this game. This is how you take no damage in this game. And you can stand guard and you can crouch guard. And while you can also jump while pressing guard by just pressing up in the guard button. And you crouch guard by pressing down in the guard button. And when you standing, all you gotta do is just press guard and you guard attacks. While you guarding or holding the guard button, you cannot move forward or backward or anything like that. You're stuck in that position you're in. So keep that in mind. So guards in this game, as you can see, stand guard blocks all highs. It also blocks all medium attacks. But stand guard will lose out to low attacks, so you have to crouch guard these. As you can see, stand guard will lose the low attacks. Now, crouch guard will block low attacks and special mids and special lows, and it will duck some highs. Well, it will duck all highs, not some highs. It will duck all highs, but it will lose out to medium attacks. So you gotta keep this in mind as well. So one thing that's very important is that you can't sit there and constantly block forever in this game, because there is a guard crush or break system in this game. Now, horizontal or A attacks will never achieve this state, but if your opponent keeps hitting you with strong break attacks, or they keep hitting you with vertical attacks or B attacks over and over and over, and you're blocking it, eventually your guard is going to start to blink yellow. And once it starts to blink yellow and keeps getting hit, eventually it's going to blink red, and a couple more hits from there is going to break your guard, and then your opponent has a free follow-up hit from there. As you can see, that it does take a while for you to break the opponent's guard, but some moves does more guard damage than others and will be quicker to break the opponent's guard and guard crush the opponent. So just keep that in mind, that every single move has its own guard value when it comes to vertical or break attacks, so on and so forth. But moving on, we're going to be talking about the guard impact. This is a staple and very important system mechanic that's been in SoulCalibur since, for as far as I can remember. And you do this by pressing guard and forward and the guard button on impact of a move. And it's basically a parry, a universal parry. Everybody has this. And if your opponent attack and you time it correctly, you will parry the opponent's move and they'll be vulnerable, right? And this move parries all attacks. Almost all attacks, actually. So it parry highs. It can even parry lows. You would think this would get beat out by lows, but no, it don't. It can even parry grabs if you time it correctly. It can even parry the reversal edge system that's been put in this game, and it can even parry supers if you're on point with it. So this is a very, very strong mechanic. What this move cannot parry, though, because it does have some weaknesses, it cannot parry break attacks. As you can see, break attacks will beat this move out completely, and we're going to talk more about break attacks later on in the video. And it cannot parry unblockables, and we're going to be talking more about unblockables later on in the video as well. But it cannot parry unblockables. As you can see, the unblockable goes right through it. So yeah. So next thing we're going to talk about is throws, and throws is very important in any fighting game because these are your mix-up tools that help you open up your opponent. And you do this by pressing A and the guard button. You have two types of throws. You have a forward throw or neutral throw. which is just forward and the throw or regular throw. And you have your back throws, and you press back and the throw button as well. Then you also have position throws, and these throws happen depending on where you grab your opponent at, on your side or on the back, so on and so forth. Now, throws in this game is pretty unique and different than it is in Tekken, because normally in Tekken you can see the hand of throws, so that's how you break. But in this game, you just basically have to kind of guess or know where your opponent's going to throw. Forward throws is just basically broken by pressing any of the attack buttons regular wise, and back throws is broken by pressing back in any of the attack buttons besides attack buttons, not guard. You can also duck throws as well, so keep that in mind. But there are some characters in this game that have low throws as well, so keep that in mind. And you cannot sidestep throws, as you can see, so also keep that in mind. So now we're going to be talking about some dual button attacks in SoulCalibur. So this is called the break attack, and break attacks are basically 2 button presses, normally A and B. Sometimes it's different with other characters depending on if they're in the stance and so on and so forth. Gro specifically, he has 3 break attacks. He has the A and B, he has a down A and B, and he has a stance, Avenger stance on BK for break attacks. And these moves are very important because they're almost always going to be plus on block, and being plus on block is always good. So what I mean by being plus on block is after the opponent blocks a break attack, if they try to follow up with an attack and you press the right speed attack, you will always beat out the opponent, just like so. So another dual button attack we're going to talk about is the blockable. Just like how break attacks always had the lightning effect on it, unblockables is always going to have the fire effect on it. And as you can tell, they're unblockable. You cannot block these at all. But they're very slow, and they normally have a big weakness to them. They can either be ducked or sidestepped. Every character blockable is very different, so you just have to punish accordingly. So next thing we're going to talk about is the reversal edge system, and this is a universal system that everybody can do in the game. And you do this by pressing B and the guard button, and you can either press it one time and it's going to parry one hit, or you can hold the button and it parries all incoming hits, and when you hold it all the way, it becomes a unblockable and automatically goes into this rock paper scissors system where a certain attack will beat out another attack and so on and so forth. B will beat out A, K will beat out B, and A will beat out K. And this is basically the rock paper scissors system. You can also just strictly straight guard as well. You can just press the guard button and you will guard all incoming attacks. But sometimes it will go into the second round and then you definitely can't guard that time. But that's more complicated stuff. Also, everybody's attacks is different. If you went out with a certain attack, it will grant you a certain status effect. And we're going to go over all of that more at a later date. You can also have movement options as well. You can like sidestep, backdash, so on and so forth. But like I said, I'm going to make a completely dedicated video to that at a later date. That's probably going to be the next video I'm going to do. And we're going to go over all the mechanics and stuff you can use with it, with the reversal edge. So this game is pretty unique as a 3D fighter because this game has a meter system. Now Tekken has a meter system as well, but only certain characters have meter, and that's normally like the guest characters and so forth. But in this game, everybody has meter, and you build meter in certain ways. You build meter by just strictly attacking. It could be whiff attacks, so on and so forth. No matter what type of attack you do, you will always gain meter. You do not gain meter when you're blocking, or if you do, it's very little. When you get hit, you gain meter, but it's very little as well, as you can see. So yeah, these are just a couple ways you can gain meter in this game, as you can see. So attacking, hitting the opponent, and getting hit, you gain meter, but you gain it little by little. The best way you can gain meter in this game is actually using your reversal edge and absorbing all the hits and hitting with the reversal edge, and you gain tons of meter as you can see on the screen. So that's probably the quickest way to gain meter in this game. So now you gain meter, now we gotta learn what can you do with this meter. So one of the new mechanics in this game is a soul edge system, and this is basically like a power up state, and you do this by pressing A, B, and K all together and back. So you press back, A, B, and K, and you enter this power-up state. And in this power-up state, you have a time limit to how long you can be in this state, whatever like that, and it takes 1 bar a meter, as you can see. Now, in this power-up state, you gain access to new moves or extensions to moves, so on and so forth. So normally, when you press Grow's, let's say 3B or his 1A, there's no extensions to it when he's normal. But when he's in Soul Edge mode, he has extensions to both these moves, as you can see on the screen. He has extensions to his 3B and he has extensions to his 1A. And this is very, very, very good. Soul Edge is also quick on activation. It's not invincible, but it is quick on activation. So it's kind of like a get offy move. And there's a very good, noticeably large gap in between your opponent's strings or pressure, anything like that. You just activate Soul Edge and you push them off you, and you at start round distance, and this is like a good get off me, we back to neutral tool. So moving on from there, we also have a super in this game, and this also take a bar meter, and you do this by pressing A, B, and K all together, and this is called the critical edge. And this move is basically a super like any other game, and it is pretty quick. The only thing I will say about it is that this super is not invincible. The super can get beaten out of. If you're too late to start the super, it will just completely take the bar meter and you will get hit. Or if you're too early and you get hit, you just like basically your opponent can just basically hit you out of the super. So you gotta be very, very careful on how you use this move. So critical edges in this game can be blocked or avoided, and if the opponent's critical edge is unsafe, it can be punished. But there are some critical edges in this game that's safe or even plus some blocks, so keep that in mind. So moving on, we're going to be talking about lethal hits. So lethal hits is very unique in this game, because normally you would think a lethal hit as a counter hit or something like that, but that's not always the case. Lethal hits are situational attacks, and depending on the situation and if you use the right attack, it can be turned into this special counter hit situation where you can get more damage than you could before if it hit regular. Now, Grow as an example is forward A plus B. If it hits as a regular counter hit, will always go into the state, and it will go to like a counter hit launcher. You can launch after that. But specifically, Grow's back B does not counter hit or lethal hit at all unless you're to the opponent's back. Now that's very unique and very situational, and every character has this type of situational thing where certain attacks only gives you a certain type of lethal hit if you hit in the right situation. Now the good thing about this is that you could go into the training mode and go to move list and go to lethal hit the attacks, and you can read all the situations of how that lethal hit will hit and so on and so forth in a certain situation that it needs to hit. If you understand what I'm saying, that was a lot of stuff I was saying right there. But if you get what I'm saying, it's very situational. So go check out the move list. So another thing that's in SoulCalibur that is very, very important in SoulCalibur is basically how you interact with the stage, right? Now, SoulCalibur has a ring out system, right? And when you near the edge of the ring, there's a possibility that you can be ringed out if you get hit off the stage. And when you get hit off the stage, it's an automatic like round over. You want the opponent wins that round. So you gotta keep that in mind. So as you can see, you can knock the opponent out with certain type of moves, which will pick them up off the ground and kick them off the screen, and you automatically win that round. So maneuvering around in SoulCalibur is very, very important. Same thing when it comes to walls. There is a wall system like how it is in Tekken. In SoulCalibur, the difference is in SoulCalibur, the wall combos you can do in SoulCalibur is a little bit more crazy than it is in Tekken. When you splat an opponent up against the wall, you get another splat, right? In Tekken, you don't really get another splat, but in this game, you get 2 splats on the wall and a launch, and it's really crazy. So you could do a splat, launch him up, and do the combo, and it ends up into some crazy damage, as you can see. So every character wall combos is going to be different, so you have to go in training mode and explore exactly what you could do with the wall combos and so on and so forth. Another thing is that there's also breakable walls, right, in the game. So normally there's your regular walls and you have breakable walls. Like after they get hit on the wall will break, and then it will expose the edge of the ring, and then if they get hit off of it, they could get into a ring out situation, how we've seen before, and if you get knocked off, that's the end of the round and you lose that round. So that's very important as well. So all these elements is very good to know in SoulCalibur. So another mechanic this game has is air control, right? So when you get launched and you're in a juggle, specifically in Tekken, normally you can't do nothing about it, get out unless the opponent drops the combo. But in this game, you can do something about it. So when you're in air and you get launched, you can actually control the way you're falling. You can control your falling forward, backwards, back right, forward right, anywhere, any way you want, right? And I did a combo, as you can see, that caught the opponent before, and now I did the same as that combo. And since the computer is doing air control, they could fall out of that combo. And this is very, very important because not every single juggle in this game is guaranteed. There are some guaranteed juggles, but normal straight hits like what I'm doing right now is not guaranteed. But that, what I just did, is a guaranteed hit. So you gotta keep that in mind. Normally, the longer hits in the game is guaranteed. And this is very, very important as well because you could use this technique to avoid ring outs. And as you know, if you get ringed out, it's automatically round over, you lose. But if you use the air control, you can avoid these type of ring outs. So just keep this in mind. This is a very, very important tactic. Something else that's very, very important is your ground recovery, your wake up option. So just like any game, any other fighting game, there's always wake up options, and this game has tons of wake up options, just like Tekken. So you can fall and roll backwards, you can fall and roll forwards, you can fall and roll into the foreground. You can even roll, stop, and so on and so forth. You don't have to always get automatically up, and you have a certain time limit until you can get off the floor. You can even roll and roll back, roll forward, roll back, roll forward. You can do a whole bunch of stuff on the ground as recovery get up options, so keep that in mind. You also have you can also get up and just automatically guard, and this is always good as well to try to avoid mix up. You could guard standing and guard low automatically, and you can also like quick recover or quick get up, and this is called Ukemi, and you do this by pressing the guard in the direction you want to get up in immediately as you press the floor. Like as you hit the floor, you press the guard in the direction you want to get up in, and you get up automatically. And you can also get up with attacks as well. Any type of your horizontal, your vertical, or your kick attacks, you can get off the ground with it as well. And these are good options as well. So you have tons of wake up options in this game. So you have to explore and explore and explore. But yeah, folks, that's pretty much the end of the road of this guide. This how to play SoulCalibur 6 guide. Hopefully this guide was able to help you in many ways. And if it did and was able to help you in any type of way at all, and you enjoyed the guide, please smash the like button. I greatly appreciate it. I will be doing tons of guides, so on and so forth, like character guides and mechanic breakdown guides on this game. I will be trying to take this game pretty seriously, and the next video I'm going to be doing is a reversal edge breakdown, full detail about all the nuances of it and so on and so forth. So hopefully you stay tuned to my channel and watch that guide. But anyways, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell to get alerted every single time I drop a new vid for y'all. I have tons of past content for y'all to check out, so make sure you go check that out. Also, if you want to help support my channel in any type of way at all, go check out the description box below. But like always, people, have a nice day. Peace.